Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cosy Rosie UK. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make this super cute and of course super easy coffee mug cozy. Perfect to take out with you with your insulated mugs so that there's no risk of dropping, and of course it helps to keep it extra warm. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course hit the notification bell so that you never miss out on another one of my crochet tutorials or one of my free crochet patterns again. As you can see, I've made this using various shades of pink, but this time I'm going to use some different colours. So let's gather those materials that we need to make our crochet pattern. I'm going to be using a 6mm crochet hook alongside some chunky yarn. You're also going to need a tapestry needle and of course a pair of scissors for all these ends we're going to need to snip. So I'm going to be using PaintBox Yarns Simply Chunky in 3 different shades. You can work this in just one colour if you'd like to, but I've got the I think that's soft fudge or caramel, which is shade 308, shade 309, and paper white, which is actually more of a bit of a cream colour, which is shade 302. I'll pop a link in the description box so you can find where to get these beautiful yarns from, and they really do come out absolutely lovely. So I'm going to kind of work it again in a bit of an ombre effect. So I'm going to start with my darkest colour, go to my medium colour, lightest, medium, darkest. So there are 2 options here to do our foundation chain. Because this is going to be fitting or snugly fitting around a coffee mug, I really want to make it as stretchy as possible, but also so that it's going to cling to the mug. So for this, we are going to be using the foundation single crochet. Okay, so instead of doing a normal chain, we're going to learn how to do a foundation single crocheted start. Don't worry, it's perfectly easy. The first thing we're going to do is we're just simply going to make a slip knot with our main colour or our first colour. In my case, that is the darkest colour that I'm using. And I'm just popping, move that out of the way so you can see. Just popping that slip knot onto my hook. And we begin by yarning over and pulling through to make our first chain. And we're going to make a second chain as well. With the foundation single crochet or foundation double crochet in UK terms, we simply insert the hook into that first chain that we made, yarn over to draw a loop up. But instead of doing our normal yarn over and pull through 2, we're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop on our hook, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on our hook. And that creates our first single crochet or double crochet in UK terms. Now we're going to do a foundation chain of 24. So that's number 1. To do number 2, we're going to make sure that our slip knot is facing at the top. Insert our hook underneath this fake V at the bottom here. So we've got 2 loops here. There's 1 and there's 2. And we want to insert our hook underneath both those loops. So picking them both up, going to yarn over, bring our loop through, yarn over, pull through that first loop on our hook, then yarn over and pull through 2. So that's number 2 completed. Going on to number 3, again we're looking for that crossed there underneath those 2 loops of our stitch. So you're inserting our hook underneath those kind of twisted V's, yarn over, bring our first loop up, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So it's very similar to our standard chain, just has that extra step in the middle. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Number 4, so insert underneath those 2 loops, yarn over to draw a loop up, yarn over, pull through that first loop, and then yarn over to pull through both loops. Turn your chain over to find those 2 loops to go underneath, yarn over to bring your loop up. You'll notice that I'm bringing the loop to the same length as that loop underneath before yarning over and pulling through the first loop, yarn over and pull through 2. That will help to ensure that your chain looks even at either end and doesn't pull too much. If you find that you're getting a particularly curly or kind of closely pulling in, it's probably just your chain's a little bit too tight. So that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, of course, if you're really struggling with this part, you can do a normal chain of 25, working into the second chain from hook, and double crochet into each of the chains so that you have a row count of 24. So if you're looking to count it, I'm kind of flipping mine over to the right side and counting my V's as normal. So up to number 8, I'm going to keep going and I'll meet you once we've got a total of 24 foundation single crochets. If you're unsure if you've done both your loops, now that I've just done that one wrong, just take it out and start the loop again. I've lost concentration, I was counting. This is number 9. So I've just completed my 24 foundation single crochets, and you can tell which side is which. You've got those twisted bits that we were just working into. That is not our stitches. Our stitches are on the other side. So I'm just going to bring those around, turning it so that it's bringing the stitches towards me. I'm going to fold my foundation chain in half, making sure that my chain is not twisted. And I'm going to join this to create a ring. This bit here is our turning chain. Don't worry about that. We want to insert our hook under that first stitch that we made. And then we are going to bring, making sure that the chain is not twisted, we're going to bring that working yarn over the top. And we're just going to slip stitch to join. There we go. Now, as you can see, it does feel like your work is twisted, but all that is that you need to, we go at the end, we're going to sew these two bits together so that we can make the bridge a little bit neater. So we've already done row 1. Going into row 2, we're going to chain 1, and then into each stitch around, we're going to place 1 double crochet in UK terms or a single crochet in US terms. So we simply insert the hook into the same stitch where we placed our slip stitch, draw a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2, insert the hook into the next stitch, yarn over, draw a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. I'm going to repeat that the whole way around. So we should have a total of 24 single crochets or double crochet in UK terms when we reach the other end of our chain. Oh no, it's not a chain, it's our foundation. There we go. So keep working around and I'll meet you at the end of row 2, which is actually row 1. And we will move on to change colours. So this is number 24 for me. And I just want to, again, I'm going to double check that we are not twisting anything so that all my stitches are at the top and that my slip knot is at the bottom. So this little bit here, don't worry about it, we're going to sew that together. It looks a bit messy, but I promise you it's absolutely fine. So we've got our slip stitch and our chain 1, and we're going to insert our hook into the top of the first stitch that we made. And ta-da, it looks a lot better once we've reached that point. So we're going to change colours. I'm going on to my colour 2, which is shade 308. Please excuse the state of this ball. It still works as yarn. So to change colour, I'm simply going to make a loop with the tail yarn at the back, pop that onto my hook and just bring it through the loop on my hook, pulling down to tighten so I can do my chain 1 in my new shade, ready to start row 2. And row 2 is exactly the same as row 1. We're going to insert the hook into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. I'm going to hold my tail yarns together and work over them and just place a single crochet into each stitch around. So we're looking for 24 single crochets at the end of row, it's round, working in rounds, at the end of round 2. So keep working around. You can work over your tails if you want to, placing a single crochet in US terms or a double crochet in UK terms into each stitch around. And I will see you at the end of round 2. Again, at the end of round 2, we've got our slip stitch there, our chain 1 that we made in our new colour. So we're just going to insert the hook into that first stitch that we made and slip stitch to join the round. Going into round 3, we start with the chain 1, and once again we're just going to place a single crochet into each stitch around. So work round 3 with a single crochet in each stitch around, so you should still have a stitch count of 24 at the end of round 3, and I'll see you round there. So at the end of round 3, we've just completed our second row in our second colour. As always, we've got our slip stitch and our chain 1, and we're just going to slip stitch to the top of that first stitch to join, and then we're going to change colours again. So I'm going to, I do have my scissors here. Just going to disconnect these colours, leaving enough yarn, of course, to weave in these ends later, because that was annoying me. There we go. And we're going on to cream, and I have to show you the state of this as well. Because this uses such little yarn for this crochet pattern, you can use any kind of scrap yarn you've got lying around. I would always make sure that it's the same type of yarn, so make sure in this case this is all 100% acrylic, and ideally the same size. So this is all chunky yarn. So I'm changing to my lightest colour. Again, I'm just chaining 1 with my new colour, making sure that all these are secure, and I will work over my tail yarns as I go. So I'm inserting into that stitch, holding those tail yarns against my project, bringing that loop up and pulling through 2. Again, just check they're all nice and neat. Now I'm going to proceed. I kind of work over the next 4 or 5. And we're just placing a single crochet into each stitch around. So at the end of round 4, we should still have 24 stitches. Keep working around and I'll see you at the other end. So that is stitch number 24 on row 4. So I've got my slip stitch there. There's my chain 1 in my new colour. So I'm just going to insert my hook under that first stitch again to join this round. Just yarn over, pull through both. And we're going to do another round in this colour. So we just work our first stitch into that same stitch we did our chain 1, and then work all the way around the other 23 stitches. And I'll meet you back ready to change colour again for round number 6. You should still have a stitch count of 24 at the end of this row 2. And that is the end of round 6. Goodness me, we're nearly there. Again, as always, just slip stitch to the top of that first stitch. And then we're going to change colour. And I'm going to snip this yarn because it's knotting itself up. We're literally going to mirror exactly what we've done at this side of our beautiful coffee cozy, which is very coffee coloured as well. So I'm going to start by attaching colour 2 in the same way that we did all the way round. So you just need to work 2 rows in colour 2, 2 rows in colour 1, and then I'm going to meet you back when you've finished the last row in this darker colour. But I'm going to show you how to make an invisible join at the end of this, because we don't want to see any lumps or bumps when we've popped this onto our coffee cup. So keep working, doing 2 rows in your medium shade, 2 rows in your darker shade, and I'll meet you at the end, ready to deal with all of those ends. I'll give you all my top tips for weaving in your ends, and tell you more about the other matching or corresponding crochet patterns that go with this one. I'll see you in a moment. So I've just completed my final row of 24 single crochets. So instead of slip stitching to join our final row, we're going to do something a little bit different, which is an invisible join. So we simply cut off a length, making sure that we've got enough to weave in our ends. And we simply, instead of slip stitching to join, we're going to bring our hook up so that stitch is unfinished. Going to pop our yarn onto our darning needle. And what we're going to do is insert our needle underneath that first stitch in the row where we would have slip stitched. And as we pull on that, it brings those together. So we're going to create a fake stitch. So the next thing we do is go underneath towards the back of the back loop of that final stitch that we made. So just that back loop only. And as we pull through, it creates a stitch. Just need to secure that at the back of this project. You can either just pull it through, you don't want it too tight because you still want it to be stretchy, and then you can weave that end in. Now I'm going to first of all do a little knot. We want that to be super secure. So to weave in all of our ends, I'm just going to turn mine inside out because we've got all of these little things to deal with. So it's now the wrong way round. First thing, we're going to weave this one in because it's already on our needle. And we just need to weave it in and under these stitches, backwards and forwards 3 times. We don't want it to come through the front. We just go through the back loop of some of these stitches and then see where it's come out there. I'm going to go in one loop and go back through the same loops again. And that's... Now, because this is going to stretch this way, we want to make sure that these is not moving so the ends don't pop through. And I'm just going to snip it closely, but it's not pulled tight. It's just that we're popping it away so no one can see it. I'm going to do the same with all of these ends. Just simply pop them onto your darning needle. If you've worked over them, then you only need to go through 2 times. So we can see where I've ended there. I'm going to go in one stitch and work underneath those there. You can't see the needle through the front that much, so I'm just going to pull that through. I don't want it super tight because I want to be able to stretch this over my coffee cup. And I'm going to come back the other way. And there we have it. Making sure that those loops are pulled through, but they don't need to be super tight. So you can give them a bit of a pull and then just snip those ends. They will not show through, I promise. See? What ends? So go ahead and weave in all of those other ends. The only other bit we need to deal with is this bit at the bottom. So I'm going to thread this onto my needle and we're going to join up this starting point here. So it looks a bit twisted and a bit messy. It's fine because we're just going to stitch through the top of this stitch, the first stitch that we made, and that will join those two ends together. And it's not obvious that we've done that. So again, I'm going to weave back through a different part of the stitch just to make sure that they don't move too much. And I'm going to loop down the back to the reverse of my project through a stitch. And that will reduce the lumpiness. There we go. And you can barely see that join. Now I'm going to weave this in. I am going to do a little knot on here. I know I probably shouldn't, but I like knots. I know knots don't come undone. Not that this is anyway, because it had a slip knot anyway. Again, I'm going to weave that end in a moment, but just for ha-has, let's pretend that this is all finished and ready to go on our coffee cup. So there we are. There we have our completed simple and easy mug cozy. Nice and stretchy at both ends because of that foundation single crochet that we used. And I must admit, I love these colours. They scream coffee to me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get made aware as soon as a new video becomes available. I hope to see you again soon.